Yeah, so I'm in New
Cool.
York City. It's been challenging, but things are actually really looking up right now. I just got home. I had a little early day for me, but I had 5 showings. It's definitely a weird time. I'm sure it is for everyone around the country and around the world. But in New York City, things are really starting to pick up. I mean, since March, I've been back and forth from the Hamptons to the city and back and forth. I'd come in for a day and then 2 days, and now I'm pretty much here full time. So you can
That's
really see
awesome.
it evolve.
And so obviously I've heard that the Hamptons are on fire. There's,
Yes,
people extending their leases, kind of the normal summer
totally.
rental period is longer.
Yeah, my team at Douglas Elliman, the Michael Lorber team, we have a dedicated couple of brokers in the Hamptons. Where I mean, we just listed a house in Watermill for 4.2 million. Went into contract and got 10% over ask. I went to an
Wow.
open house on Sunday, a beautiful open house. I was looking for myself. It was like 7.2 million, whatever, and a very nice house. And I had to park down the street. I finally got to the open house. I walked around. I knew the broker, and I overheard 2 conversations. Will they take ask? I was loving hearing that. Will they take asking price? And the
Insane.
house came on the market Wednesday. I went to see it on Sunday, and I spoke to the broker. Excuse me, I went to see it Saturday, and the broker told me they're going to do a best and final tomorrow. So for a turnkey house in the Hamptons, people are really, relocating for the time being. They're really spending a lot of time in the Hamptons. And you can see,
Yeah, that
Noble
makes
Black,
sense.
our other colleague, just joined to watch us, and
Oh,
he
awesome.
actually just got out to the Hamptons just now to show some houses. So a lot of
So
city brokers are, expanding their business. It's New York State. We can work out there, and it's been great.
that's awesome. It's probably pretty similar to the Bay Area where you have Napa Valley, Monterey County,
Right.
Pebble Beach, Carmel, super hot market right now.
How are things with the fires out there? Has that really affected
I think it's,
Napa?
Sonoma is actually a really in-demand market right now, Sonoma, Napa, but obviously the fires, been, an issue. I think they're pretty much contained now, thank God, but, I think it's the same thing with the Hamptons and Miami for you guys. There's just a lot of people relocating or buying
Right.
second and third homes because they can
Yeah,
work from
it's
home. And
definitely ignited the second and third home. Our Palm Beach market has been on fire. Bidding wars, just off-market deals happening, 20, 30, 50. We even did a $72 million, my firm, off-market deal, not even on the ocean, on the lakeside of Palm Beach.
wow.
So we're seeing tremendous numbers in Palm Beach. But Florida, they opened up everything. You can eat anywhere, you can do anything. New York City, we're now on day 15 of indoor dining at 25%. They were supposed to then go to or reassess after 14 days, see if we can go to 50%. I haven't heard anything yet. And as the weather starts getting chillier, New Yorkers are getting scared. And obviously,
Totally.
New York City school system plays an important role in New York City real estate, whether kids will be at school. And, they are a little bit right now. And after Thanksgiving, I don't know. I think it'll go virtual again. And I have friends moving to LA for the winter, Florida, obviously,
Mm.
and the Hamptons, and a lot of Aspen. We're seeing a lot of people
A lot
shifting
of
to Aspen.
Aspen. And so is the South Florida move, is that primarily driven by New Yorkers right now?
Yes, I mean it was a thing that's been going on obviously for years. A lot of New Yorkers. We call Miami the sixth borough of Manhattan, of New York City rather. It's always been a strong market there, but in the past few years with our taxes and everything, and people have always said they're going to move to New York next year, move to Florida next year, keep moving, and now this just lit a fire under everyone's butts. A lot
Mm.
of funds open up offices there. I think New York State taxation division opened up an office there just to simply audit all the people moving from New York to Florida.
Wow.
That first year is obviously a very difficult transition to make. It's not just 180 days. Is this your
Yeah.
domicile? Are you really intending to live here? And I'm not a tax attorney by any means, but it is. You got to be very careful when you move to Florida.
Yeah, no,
But
for sure.
it's been a great market down there, and it's a great lifestyle being in South Florida. Usually snowbirds, a lot of people I work with, including myself, go back and forth, and I'd like to do that this winter for work. But if I go to Florida, fine, I could do that. But when I come back here, I'd have to quarantine for 14 days, unless I just come for within 24-hour period. So if I
Yeah.
fly up in the morning, leave at night, okay, I don't have to quarantine. But it's going to make things very complicated this year and keeping track of everything.
That makes sense. Yeah, we're getting a lot of talk about, mass exodus out of San Francisco to places like Texas or Florida, LA even. I mean, I'm sure they're saying the same thing about New York. I still firmly believe that people move to cities like New York because of the energy, and
Right,
it's just
exactly.
like
New
I think
York
that is
City,
never going to.
New York City is one of obviously the greatest city in the world, but right now we don't have some of the great things that attract people here, which is our cultural institutions. The theater now is delayed. Broadway is delayed till May 21. And even when
Crazy.
those do open, I don't know how it's going to work every other row, every other seat. And these were businesses that had trouble making money in a great economy, Broadway theaters. So we're not going to have our Christmas tourism season that we usually get. We're not having conferences. We're not having hotels, we're not conventions, sporting events, concerts,
Yeah,
restaurants. All these things that make living in New York City so wonderful right now aren't going to exist, and they may not exist for a little bit. I'm staying in the city this weekend. I have work, and I'm seeing some friends tomorrow night for dinner. Okay, we got to find a restaurant. I want to eat outside. Now it's going to be raining. Is it covered? All these factors
right.
on how to live in New York are hard. And I don't have children. And I can only imagine how much more difficult that is with a family living in New York City right now.
Totally. Yeah, 100%. I think for people with families in particular, I think the need for more personal space is definitely driving, people to leave
Yes.
condos and stuff like that.
Well, a lot of people also have realized that you can work from home. You're very productive. Zoom
100%.
and things like this. There's so many tools where you don't have to be at your office. My business and your business, unfortunately, yeah, we can do a lot of virtual tours for clients, but at the end of the day, you're
They
spending
want to
$10
see
million.
it.
You want to see what you're buying. And that means I'm going to be in the city showing real estate. My clients have to come in. I had people today who just drove, two clients today with a bunch of showings that each drove in for the Hamptons for the day and in and out. And they still ask me, like, are you okay walking around the city at night? And I have a dog now, and I walk my dog every night. The city is totally fine. It's
Yeah,
lovely. I won't lie, it's a little quieter. There's not as much traffic. But all these outside restaurants have really kind of made it kind of like a European feel. So you
totally.
have all these sidewalk cafes, and it's really been lovely.
The same thing is happening in SF. We're actually not accustomed to outdoor dining because we get pretty foggy usually.
Right.
But everything is outside. It's a nice change.
Yeah.
How do
No,
you,
it is.
how do
It
you,
really is.
It is. How do you think this is good, like reshaping, like obviously New York has the ultra luxurious high rises, like 450
Right.
Park and,
It's been a
and the
challenge
ones
because
on Central
there's
Park South.
it's definitely interesting because there's two sides to the coin here with those high-end buildings along Billionaires Row and everything.
Yeah,
Obviously in June when the city was going through a tough time with a lot of riots and some crime and everything, people then, I want to be in a full-service building. I want lots of security, blah blah blah. But with
sure.
COVID, you have a lot of people being, I don't want to share an elevator with people. I don't care about all these wonderful amenities, pool, billiards room. I'm never going to go use it. I'm never going to share
Yeah,
the space with people. I'm going to put my own treadmill and soul cycle bike in my apartment. So you have the people that want all the amenities and all the security. Then you have the people who don't want any of that, just want the space. So there's kind of two sides. We are still seeing huge deals on the new buildings on like West 57th Street. Personally, I haven't done any, but I do hear from my colleagues that things are definitely busy there, picking up at least. I mean, we
sure.
weren't in great shape before all this, and things were just starting to get great in January and February, and then COVID. That
Yeah,
Friday, March 13th, whatever it is, everyone out to the Hamptons or to South Florida, and the city was dead for a while, and it really took a long time to start again. And usually then we're going to the summer, which is always very slow in New York City. But in late August starts picking up, people move back, schools start. And it was delayed this year, but it has really been busier the past few weeks rather.
yeah. I was going to say, do you think that there are certain neighborhoods that are emerging as more in demand now than they were prior to COVID and everything?
Right. During a lot of the, issues in June in the city, Soho was greatly affected in a lot of downtown
Hmm.
neighborhoods. And I would think they've been more hurt. And our mayor isn't really helping a lot of times. I'm sure many
Right.
people are not fans of him. It's just been very hard. I don't envy him or his job. But the Upper East Side has been, and I live on the Upper East Side, has been really
Yeah.
not affected. It was a market that has not been doing well for years because everyone wants, anytime I take someone out under the age of 30, where do you want to live? West Village, Soho,
Right.
Tribeca. Oh, my parents on the Upper East Side. Oh, that's for old people.
Yeah.
It's a great value. But now it's become a really, you know, power,
Kind of a
really
resurgence.
smart move to come here. You have all the schools, you walk everywhere, great transportation, great restaurants, and
The park.
obviously it is a very safe community. But now it just really, all that's happened, people have realized, I don't care about trendy or hip or all these new cool buildings. I want space and peacefulness and quiet, and having Central Park as your backyard, you can't ask for anything better.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. And it is serene. It's super quiet up there every time I'm
Oh
up
yeah,
there, particularly at night.
it is. It's funny. I had gone down for dinner, and I usually, okay, it takes me a half hour to get downtown for dinner. I'm getting downtown in 15 minutes. It's
Yeah,
very weird at night. I'm really still not used to it. I'm always a guy who gets places early. I'm OCD. I'm always on time. But now
yeah.
I can zip around the city for work a little bit easier. But now in our jobs, it makes things a little weirder because I have clients. Okay, you can't come in my car. I don't want your germs, and I get
Hmm.
tested every week, usually a nasal thing,
Yeah,
because I feel like I'm always meeting someone that has it, and I try to be careful, as we all do, and we all should.
that's smart.
But you know, I feel like traffic sometimes should be worse. It is worse because I'm not hearing as many people taking public transportation, especially from the suburbs and outer boroughs into the city. But from told on the subway, it's packed. I
Crazy.
haven't seen it on the first hand though. So I'm told. I have not taken the
Yeah,
subway since COVID.
crazy. And what about the surrounding area? I mean, obviously the Hamptons are super hot, but are there certain areas within an hour of the city that have really
Right,
taken off?
your usual suburbs, which in New York City consists of Bergen County in New Jersey, Westchester County in New York, and Nassau County in Long Island, where I grew up. All within 20 miles of the heart of Manhattan. Those are the big commuter suburbs where people live. And Connecticut, you see a lot now. A lot of
Yeah,
people have started to move out there because if they can work from home, you're seeing a lot of that. The schools are great. You think of all the money you save. If you live on the Upper East Side or anywhere in Manhattan, now you're spending $40,000 a year to send your kid to private school. You move to the suburbs to a great school system. You save that amount of money. Yes, you have to commute, but a lot of people are working from home
totally.
now. Obviously, your Uber bills and your dry cleaning bills because you're not wearing suits drastically going down. Because people come to live in New York City for the energy and the excitement and
The
just being
feel.
a first class experience. And now it really isn't right now, which is why it's such a great time to buy. And I think the smart people
I
are
would
really
agree.
noticing that. And in a certain range, in the let's say the average apartment in Manhattan goes for about $1.7 million. Right now, we're seeing bidding wars in that 1.5 to $2.5 million
Wow.
range, because that's always been like that great entry level into Manhattan,
Yeah,
and those are people that have been renting for years. And now with rates being so low, inventory so high, you have a great opportunity to get out of your rental and buy an apartment. The smart people know
yeah,
New York's going to come back. After 9/11, we never thought New York City would come back. And after the,
100%.
but New York City always finds a way. It's the greatest city in the world. I'm not, San Francisco's wonderful and LA
No,
and
no,
everything.
I think New
But,
York
New York
is,
City,
I agree.
it's a special place. And I think smarter people are realizing that, we're not just going to give up on New York City. Yeah, if you're 65 or 70, you're going to move out in a few years. This jump starts your move
Yeah,
to Florida, of course.
yeah.
But a lot of young families, they're still staying put.
No, I would totally agree. I think even San Francisco, New York, Manhattan, it's limited inventory. There's centers
Right.
of the universe. Obviously, tech is based here. New York City is
Yes.
just,
I
one
would
of the
think
most,
with the past 5 months, the tech industry has just boomed. I
boom.
would think you guys must be so busy out there and Silicon
Yeah,
Valley
but
and
I
everything.
think very similar to what you're seeing in that, I think a lot of people were holding off before because maybe they couldn't quite afford what they wanted, or, they're looking at it now and they're like, it's a good opportunity to
Right.
buy. We could get a
Yeah, like
relative
one of
deal.
our viewers here just said, after 9/11, no one wants to live in Manhattan. Oh my God, living downtown?
Totally.
Never. Well, I'll never work in a tall building again. Yes, it was very traumatic and one of the worst things to ever happen to our country. But I don't say New Yorkers have a short memory, but we adapt, we move on, and we move forward and up.
Totally.
And we have taller buildings now. We have, the city in the past 20 years has experienced such amazing growth and due to some zoning changes and everything. But, you go downtown now, you wouldn't even recognize it if you were there 20 years ago. The
Totally.
type of building that's been built in Tribeca and the West Village, along the Hudson River, areas you never want to live in, to go into. As a younger kid, I was scared to go into Manhattan, but in the past 20 years, or even before then, Giuliani was mayor, there's no bad part of Manhattan anymore like there used to be.
No.
Everything is clean. Every single community has families moving into it, has
Yeah.
just new restaurants, new everything. And that's what's great about New York. There's always the newest and next thing, whether it be a new
Yeah.
restaurant here, or a new art installation here. And that's what keeps New York going. And we're finding ways to
Yeah.
adapt to that.
I
Everything's
think
outdoors
also,
right now, and we'll figure it out.
yeah. I think also, if you look at just the same thing with San Francisco, but 30 years ago, 40 years ago, I mean, if you look at the 1980s in Soho, it was
Right.
not the Soho that we see today,
Right. No,
or
totally.
Tribeca.
And in the 1980s, in the 70s and 80s, artists moved to Soho because it was affordable. I mean,
Right.
then Brooklyn became so popular in the past 10 years. And it wasn't, I understood it because it kind of like, it allowed you could have a house and a small yard, but still
Mm-hmm.
be in New York City and community. You can kind of have it all. But at the end of the day, you can live in Manhattan for a lot less money than a lot of these parts of Brooklyn.
Oh, 100.
It
Brooklyn
became
is
the
just
coolness factor
exploding.
and the hip factor, something I've never been part of. I live on the Upper East Side on Park Avenue. I'm 41 now, but I've wanted to live here since I'm 20, and I'll live here till I'm 80.
Yeah.
It's just who I am. So there's something for everyone.
I think that there's something about, if you're going to live in New York, just do it. I don't know. To me, I think I don't want to look at the city. I want to be in the city.
Right. Well, that's funny you say that, because like all those super tall buildings, it's a lot of times the helicopter views we call it. New Yorkers aren't really living there a lot of times. It's people with
Yeah.
5 homes, so many homes, and they come to New York, whatever, and visit. It's a great place to invest your money. It always has been, especially for people overseas. But most New Yorkers live on the first, 6 floors of a building. They don't have huge views.
Right.
It's like my mother won't live in a building where a fire truck's ladder will not reach. So, you're limited to like 10 stories a lot of times to
Yeah.
some people who don't like heights. So, New York City, we are a very vertical city because we are bounded by water on all 4 sides, so it's hard for us to expand. But most of us don't live in the clouds. Our heads may be in
Yeah.
them, but
No,
certainly
for
our
sure.
feet are on the street.
So, what is for you personally? Because obviously, I know your dad owns Douglas Elliman, so I know how you got into real estate. What
Yeah.
was your most exciting sale? It doesn't have to be the most expensive sale, just your favorite sale for whatever reason.
Wow, that's a tough question.
It
So
doesn't have to be the
I
fanciest
usually
or the
try to
highest.
take listings and work with people I love and listings I love. I mean, obviously I don't turn down business. Most salespeople don't. Um, my favorite deal, gosh, in New York, and like most brokers, you work hard and long on something that, sometimes you don't get paid. A lot of people don't understand how we actually get paid. And, deal doesn't
Yeah.
happen, or if I have a listing, it doesn't mean I get paid because I work on it for a year. I don't get paid till it closes. And a lot of brokers celebrate so many times. You celebrate when you get the listing. You celebrate
Mm-hmm.
when you have a great showing, and then when you get an offer, and then when you get an accepted offer, and then when you have a closing. But in New York, there's a step that goes in the middle here for a lot of us, which is a co-op. And the co-op board gets in the middle and says, "Hey, you put together an application. Let me see all this stuff, their tax returns, their financials. I'll decide now if this deal can happen." So and
Yeah.
75%, I think, of New York City, which includes our boroughs, is cooperative, which means you buy the shares in a
Right.
corporation, and they're allotted to square footage of your apartment, but you don't actually own the apartment. So you own shares in the corporation that owns the building. So one of my proudest deals are always when I'm able to put together all that information, which is a huge process, a board package, and 10 copies, and they're this thick, and years of tax returns, and actually, convincing a board or putting together the proper package and coaching my clients through it, and who to get the right reference letters from, what to write on your application, what not to
Yeah.
write, where to show money, where not to show money, your art collection, whatever, and being able to work with actually clients who are young who want to live in these old buildings, because a lot of these older buildings don't have young people, and you really want
Right.
a lot of younger families to move into them because they're going to stay there for a while. They're going to raise their family there. They're
Yeah.
going to take care of it. It becomes a real community. So what I'm always proud of is when I can get a co-op board a lot of times to work with one of my clients, and I've done this all over, mostly on the Upper East Side, and you're able to just get that done because it kind of interferes with the whole free market capitalism of real estate where I
Yeah.
want to buy it, here's $1, I own it, okay, great. Where this middle group of people get involved and comb through your entire life and see if, okay,
Yeah.
we're now financial partners with you, owning shares together in this corporation. So people think it's just a snobby thing and elitist and financial, which it's not. It's really, you're becoming business partners with these people and neighbors. And it's something that I'm
Right.
always proud to work on. And it being a very, very overwhelming, even to the most wealthy people. I'm not showing them my tax returns. People say,
Right. Right. No,
you
no. I mean,
can't
I
be
know
like
that.
that. You can't be above the process. You have to work
Yeah.
with it. It's been going on in New York for a long time. And I'm hoping it evolves like everything else now, but I don't think it will for a while.
I think also for people that aren't familiar with New York watching, I mean, it's really just unique to New York City. Like this doesn't really exist anywhere else in the country in the
No,
same way.
you think you could walk into an apartment and then you could buy it,
Right.
which does in a lot of why our newer buildings are so popular amongst the international community is that
Right.
in these older buildings and the greatest locations on Park and Fifth Avenue,
Yeah.
they don't allow international people to come in because
Totally.
they're gonna look, where's your money? It's overseas or here. You don't live here. We don't want people who own apartments who don't actually live here.
Right.
So people don't realize that. They think, oh, you can just buy it, but
Yeah.
there's a
No,
whole process involved.
there are buildings on, obviously a lot on the Upper East Side, Fifth Avenue, Park Avenue, Central Park West, where you can, they
Yeah.
require, I know, all cash or 50% cash.
Oh
Then
yeah,
they
a lot of
want
buildings
letters of
working no
recommendation.
financing. Right. And with rates so low
Yeah.
today, it's hard to be like, which is why a lot of these co-ops are less expensive than their peers that are in new condo buildings because there you could just put
Yeah.
10% down and finance the
Right.
rest. And why wouldn't you? So you have to
Do you,
really
do you think
want
that
it.
do you think that that's going to change over time? The whole kind of co-op model of approvals, and does
I
younger
mean, obviously,
people,
co-ops, you would never build a co-op today. It just doesn't happen. It only
right?
happens if someone else owns the land and you build a building on top of it and that becomes a land lease. Very rare.
Yeah.
Granted, there are a bunch in New York. But it's definitely dying. It's never building more of them, but they can't really go anywhere. There's actually an interesting case right now of a co-op on 55th and Park. It was kind of a commercial area. All the
Yeah.
co-op owners got together, which rare that they all got along, and voted to sell it to a developer. And they're going to knock it down to build an office tower.
Oh
And,
wow.
they each got X dollars a share. I just can't imagine that process, convincing 30 of your neighbors that this
Right.
is what your price is worth,
Yeah.
relocating them, or paying them to move.
Yeah.
And but apparently it's happening from what I've read. So it's always fascinating. So there are
Yeah. It's
changes.
an uphill battle.
Obviously, a co-op, a lot of times it's pretty much like a license, like joining a country club. It's like a license to discriminate. They don't have to
Right.
give a reason. It's like
Yeah.
applying to college. They
That's
don't have to
true.
tell you why you didn't get in.
Right.
Um,
And it
so
is
it's a
one of the
very
rare.
daunting process.
Yeah, it's one of the rare instances where you can, show $100 million in the bank and they
Right.
won't let you buy there.
Yeah, but I'm not talking just very wealthy people, but just regular apartments in New York. A lot of them, they're
Yeah.
older buildings. They're co-ops on First or Second or Third Avenue or side
Yeah.
streets. And you're buying the apartment for $800,000, and they want to see how much you're making, the debt to income ratio, and do you have
Insane.
child support and all these things
Yeah.
that normal people in New York have to deal with,
Yeah.
and it has to be scrutinized by third parties.
I would think that that is going to, over time, like
Yes.
eventually change.
I don't know how you get rid of it, but I do think it's
Yeah.
got to go. Um, and
Yeah.
all it does is drive down the price. It's the dumbest thing. When a
Right.
board
Exactly.
rejects someone, they are so short-sighted that when you go see an apartment now
Right.
and, there was a rejection, the price doesn't go up. It goes down.
It's harder to
Somebody who
sell.
got rejected. I have an apartment for sale, I'm embarrassed to say, for 8 years, and I've had 3 rejections, and the prices keep going down. And it's an
Crazy.
all-cash building, needs a tremendous amount of work, and the board is just
Yeah.
so difficult. And I'm realizing, and the prices, go down, like it was 8 million, then it was 6 million, now it's
Right.
5 million. And I'm looking at the board being like, you guys are ruining your apartment values now.
Right. Right.
So these
Yeah.
become
Exactly.
direct comps. So it
I
just
think
doesn't make sense to me unless, if the
also.
person was some kind of criminal, I
Yeah.
understand it, or if they were young or had no money in their checking account, yes, there's
Yeah.
reasons. But I
Right.
brought in 3 qualified people,
Yeah.
and they've been rejected.
And I
So it's
think
a
also
complicated process.
for me at least, I can't imagine buying in a building and being told, but I can't have guests stay or I have to be present if
Yeah,
someone's
they're
there.
not that strict, but yes. Well,
Yeah,
now with COVID, everything's different.
right.
I'm sure your business, and to talk about a day in the life right now, showing an apartment or any sort of real estate now, I take my client out. So it has to work with my schedule, my client's schedule. And now it has to work with obviously the seller's broker and the seller. So that's four parties now that have to clear their schedule. And now I have to coordinate with the actual building to make sure there's not another showing at the same time because of COVID. And then I have to have a signature on a COVID form, single person I take on the tour. So if I'm going to go I showed 5 apartments today to one buyer. And they're a couple. I had to manage 10 documents with their signatures, email ahead of time. We get there, take our temperature.
Crazy.
And now it is just so much scheduling and paperwork and craziness right now. It is
Yeah,
just a
no,
whole new
definitely
world for us. Yeah.
an extra layer. I think the biggest
Yeah.
change out here is, we're all used to doing open houses,
Right.
and
We
open
can't do
houses
that.
have been eliminated.
In the
Right.
Hamptons, you could do that. Long Island is a different region under the COVID rules than New York City. So you could do open houses in Long Island. Here in New York City, what we say is open house by appointment, which is really just, you call and make an appointment. So it's like a regular showing anyway. So it's very hard for our sellers who want to, get out of their apartments.
No, absolutely.
And I assume Florida, I have a Palm Beach broker talking now that you can have open houses down there if there's anything
Interesting.
left.
Yeah.
I know the multifamily in Palm Beach and Miami is not as strong as the single family because I assume if you're going to Florida, you want
Right.
your own yard, your own pool, your own driveway, garage. You
Yeah.
don't really want to share all the common spaces with everyone else in the building.
Yeah, we're seeing that here. It's single family is much stronger than condos right now, for sure,
Right.
for all of the above reasons. What is your favorite restaurant in New York City? Just again, not the best restaurant, the one that you go to.
My favorite restaurant, which has been open, I celebrated their 5th anniversary, I think, this past year, was the Polo Bar. It's just classic. I don't like done-up food. I like kind of plain food.
Yeah.
They have not been able to do outdoor dining, and nor have they done their indoor dining yet because it's all underground in a basement, really. So they do great delivery. But there are so many great restaurants in New York right now who have built these outdoor gardens and awnings and tents that are so beautiful. An Italian restaurant, Maria on Central Park South, Biblique, a French bistro around the corner from me here, who've done such lovely jobs. And it's been great eating there. I won't lie. I was at a restaurant in New York City in August, and rats, ran past my ankle, and I was not pleasant seeing a rat go by you in New York City when you're eating. So, but it's New York. It's just going to happen. It's like when you see a cockroach.
It's going to happen there.
You're living with 10 million people. You're going to see these things.
Yeah. This is going to sound very odd, but for me, in a weird way, the garbage and all the stuff when you're walking down the street in New York is just part of the experience.
Yeah. I'm so blindsided by it. Like yesterday, I was showing an apartment and I see a guy peeing between 2 cars in the street. And I'm like, oh, okay. I'm walking my dog. He's peeing.
It's just
I'm
normal.
you're so used to it all,
Yeah,
it's
totally.
just, it's just what it is in New York. And this wasn't downtown. This was, 64th and Park. So, that doesn't make a difference.
That's crazy. Right in the middle. How did you like doing the show? Because I did it 5 years ago. I know you did it almost a decade ago.
Wow. Yeah. A decade. Thank you. How many? Because
half a decade.
When I did it, gosh, so long ago, I was a fan of the LA show. That was the first show in the series. Was $1 Million Listing. It was just called $1 Million Listing. Then it became $1 Million Listing LA. And I was talking with those guys, and then I knew they wanted to bring it to New York, and I worked with them and whatever. And I applied online like everyone else, and obviously I got it and did the first season. And it was very, very hard because no one knew what it was. You had to beg people to be on that show. Now, people are, brokers and everyone, I want to be on the show. Put my apartment on the show. Put my new project on the show. Back then, no one wanted to be on it. And New York, I always thought it just still is a different animal where it's, I don't want to say more discreet than the West Coast, but, you don't have these big houses. You're living in an apartment. No one knows what it is. With these co-ops, forget about it. You can never film in a co-op. They don't actually film the reality of working in a lot of these projects and buildings.
No.
But, it was really exciting to do the show. I loved filming it. It was totally a fun experience. It wasn't for me. My clients are
Yeah.
different. My personality is different. And, with my father owning the firm, I just had to be extra, extra careful with everything. We obviously share the same last
Yeah.
name. And it wasn't for me, but it was such a fun
Yeah.
experience. And I do
For
cameos
sure.
every season. I just doing it full time and running my team and everything and
Yeah.
doing everything else I want to do. It's a lot. And I can never
Yeah.
build a brand like that. And the guys who've done great jobs who've done it, because I work for a firm that has the great brand, and I can never start my own brand aside from it. And it just
Right.
wouldn't work like that. But I
Right.
always do something throughout the time, throughout the seasons and things here and there. And I'm still friendly with the guys who I've done it with, and got to meet people
Yep.
like you and the guys in Miami who did it.
Yeah.
I'm embarrassed to ask, is the show still on in San Francisco?
No, I did it 5 years ago. That's when it was
No,
on.
but is the series still on? Oh, it's
No,
not. How many seasons did you do?
it was just the one. It was the one season, 10, 11 episodes, and that's it, which was
That's
perfect
it.
for
Oh, wow.
me.
So, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
that
think
was it.
Florida also, or Miami just had one.
Yeah,
Because also
Miami
it
had
was
one. I
so
think
hard to
Miami had
film
like
here.
6
When I
episodes.
filmed other things, you go into a house, you whatever. Here, you got to deal with the building, and then the union, and then the elevator rules, and then
Right.
the parking, and that. It was so hard. And filming
Totally.
I think that's
Yeah.
filming anything in New York City, but I knew nothing about that, and it was just such a unique experience. I highly recommend anyone try it. It's fun.
Yeah, no, totally. Also, I know we shared the same producer, Danielle King, who
Oh, I
also
love
did
Danny.
some of
She was
that.
great. I
Yeah,
still,
she
I
loves
get
you.
the message of a
Loves
lot
you.
of people, and that's what's great about Instagram is connecting with everyone. We didn't have it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's scary to me that when I did the show, we had to promote everything on Twitter. There was no Instagram. So
Amazing.
it's such a
Yeah.
different animal now. I remember
Yeah,
Andy Cohen
totally.
making me get a Twitter account, do all this stuff. I don't even know how to use Twitter anymore. I don't know. I think I have it, but I haven't tweeted
Yeah.
anything in a good few years.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's all
same for me.
Instagram these days. And I'm sure there's something better and newer than Instagram. I never tried TikTok. I'm sure that's cool. I don't know.
I've never done that.
It looks, my niece and nephew probably obviously are into it. I'm probably too old for it.
So I know you travel a lot. You're obviously in Massachusetts a lot, and you go to Europe.
Yeah, I spent a
Where's your
lot of the
favorite?
summer in Nantucket.
Nantucket, yeah.
I really haven't been anywhere since the first week of March. I was in Florida, and I haven't really been anywhere far since. Obviously because of quarantines and everything. So I did a bunch of trips to Nantucket in August with friends, and that was it really. And then after Nantucket, I went to Maine for 2 days. I took doing a lot of boating locally, but I haven't gone anywhere really far, more than a 45-minute flight. So I'm excited because I think I'll be going to the Caribbean in November. So that's my
that's
next big
awesome.
plan.
Where do you get your style from? Because I've been to your place, and it's obviously you've got
This is actually a new apartment we're in now, where I moved into last year. Yes, I wish I bought it this year, and then it'd be 20% less money. I renovated it, the whole process. So I'm very eclectic with style. You mean personal wardrobe style, or
just personal style?
Yeah, I mean, I think
personal interior design style.
Personal, how I love to dress. I mean, and his birthday was yesterday. Ralph Lauren is just classic. I get everything from Purple Label over at the Ralph Lauren Mansion here on 72nd and Madison. It's just classic American style. And my decor, it's funny because I guess I'm embarrassed to say I'm a maximalist, which is pretty rare these days.
I'm a maximalist.
Yeah. So, but I'm a maximalist for an interesting reason. I'm maximalist because I'm a sentimental guy. Everything means something to me. I have a lot of books and millions of pictures because, that's this time, and this was a gift from so-and-so, and I don't throw anything away. I'm not a hoarder, but I like a lot of stuff because it makes me feel at home and comfortable and makes me think of the people I've gotten to share my life with, and my family.
I agree.
My family and my friends are my most important thing. I'm embarrassed to say, and I will say it, for me, it's family, friends, and work a lot of times.
But that's awesome.
I try to place a big emphasis on that, and I think a lot of us learned that during the past few months when we were stuck at home with our family or with our friends.
For sure. I think that's the silver lining of it all. For sure.
Exactly. A lot of people have really been
thankful.
I mean, knock on wood, people who were not taken, have passed away, have really, I think a lot of us have looked at this time as, what other opportunity do you have to spend this type of time with your family? After you move out of your house, you're 18, you go to college, and you're able to go back home. I didn't get to do that, but I know a lot of friends of mine did. Or you have the opportunity to move to there's a huge article in the paper today how people move to Maine for 3 months and live there and work there.
So nice.
You have these great opportunities to do these things. and take
Yeah.
advantage of it. And I don't want to miss. I don't want to say there's the next wave because I'm hoping there's not. But I'm hoping that I can be in Florida a lot this winter and get to spend time there and grow my business down there also.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, I have a lot of friends who are, they're taking like 2 months and going on a road trip, around the
Yeah,
country.
that's awesome.
So,
I would do that,
yeah,
but then it's like,
no,
okay, you gotta like plan the hotels to stay at. I was like,
yeah,
I'm gonna fly to Florida. Then I got nervous, and I'm like, oh, I'll drive. And then I'm like, well, then you gotta stay at a hotel on the side of the highway. And is
yeah,
that gonna be safe, like COVID
probably
wise,
not.
not crime wise? Yeah. But I've been stockpiling so much stuff since early on in February with the masks and the gloves and the Perel. It's been crazy.
Yeah. What advice, like, because you've built a pretty sizable team now. When you're
Yeah, it's
hiring
taken
team
me a
members,
while, I will say.
yeah, it takes a
But I'm
while.
very lucky that I had always had partners and all this. I had two other teams before this, and I was always, because of my father owning the firm, it was never encouraged for me to use my name, or really I should have used it because it's kind of an unfair advantage.
Hmm.
And I don't want people to think I don't get much business from my father. Yeah, he gives me some. I
Yeah,
know people through him. Obviously, he's my father. A lot of us get business through our family, and if I've known someone in my family for 30 years, I should
sure,
get the listing if I'm
of course.
qualified and so on. But it took me a long time to start the team, so I finally gave in about a year and a half ago and called it the Michael Lorber team. And I don't have that type of ego, but I would have called it
No,
something else. But the New York State laws don't let you, because if I buy a house from the team, I need to know who it is. If I called it the Knickerbocker team, the Gotham team, you don't know who that is. So I had to call it the Michael Lorber team at Douglas
so I
Elliman
have
Real Estate.
a question on that because I have seen some teams in New York
Some
that
people
call
do it,
themselves.
and
How do they
I
get away
don't
with
know
it?
how correct it is. I know there are a lot of teams that do it, but I've
Got it.
been told I can't do it.
I think in the end of the day, as a
I have
real
to be
estate
extra
agent, people
careful
are
on my.
hiring you because of you. Yeah, but
Yeah,
people
I
are
hope so.
hiring you because of you. So, why not use your name?
Yeah, no, I agree, but
That makes a lot of
exactly.
sense.
Um, it's funny. I was always into
Cool.
real estate before my father was. I started loving real estate. I mean, as a kid, and during the summers in college, I worked for a great developer who's now the president. So we don't really have to talk about that. But back then, it was just a great real estate thing. Before golf courses and TV and
Right. Yeah.
politics. But I started the team last year. I had a gentleman who was on my other two teams with me, Alexander Bariskin, and he's really become like my best friend and business partner. And we run it together. And we've grown just from the two of us. We have about 9 people right now.
That's
And,
awesome.
we're limited at Douglas Elliman to not have 100 people because then it becomes a different
Yeah.
organization.
Alexander is great, by the way.
Yeah, oh, he's the best. We just spent all day together today. So I have 8 people on the team. We've dedicated a guy in the Hamptons now, and now we'll work more in Florida, where I will be licensed soon, I hope. But I have lots of partners down there. I work with, like, in Palm Beach with Chris Levitt and Gary Poor. We
Yeah.
have great offices down there. But I like growing it here in New York, and I could take 20 people, just have a giant team and boost my gross commission income, my GCI.
Yeah.
But I really have a rule with everyone on my team. It's someone I like working with. I don't want, if I can get some kid on the team to bring in, $100 million a year business, that's great. But I have to like working with him. I have to trust him with my name because he's going out there, which is twice as important because of my family. So I follow everything really by the book and by the letter. So, and everyone I work with, I have to really love working with, and I have to want to be able to have lunch and dinner with them. I take my team and we all had lunch last week because we can't be in the office right now all together. We have to make an appointment to go in, so we're not seeing each other. And I consider working together in real estate a very collaborative process, and we all bounce ideas off each other. What do you think this is worth? What should I do to boost traffic here? So we try to do a lunch once a week, which is very hard now, especially getting a table for 8 outdoors or 9. Our Hamptons partner Adam drove in yesterday 2 hours just to have lunch with us, and drove back. And he's on a walkthrough right now, and we have a $4 million Shelter Island closing tomorrow, which is part of the Hamptons.
That's awesome.
So yeah, it's all about working together with who you like and love. And I go home at night liking them all and being excited to see them the next day. And that's really one of the more important things to me.
But that's important, and I think you bring up a great point, which is that I think a lot of people are seeing these mega teams emerge, and
right.
There's different ways to success. Some people don't want to.
I mean, Frederick and John have done a great job growing their team. I don't know how many they have, 60, 80 people in those 3 markets, and it's amazing. They've done great work. But you can't be everywhere all the time, and those guys work 24/7 and doing the show and everything.
Right,
Um,
right, definitely.
it works really great for them. So there are, two sides to it. I'm sure they can't have a super tight personal relationship with 80 people. I'm sure, but I'm sure it's an amazing place to work. It's just not
No,
something that I would
absolutely.
want to. Yeah, if I can do that, that'd be great. But I'm 9 people now. I'd like to get. We have 2 more coming. Elliman limits us, I think, at around 14, 15. And then it gets very political. Then you can't be in
Right.
rankings and stuff like that. So a lot of the huge teams at Elliman don't get ranked because they're so big. So it's a lot of politics and stuff like that. But at the end
Yeah,
of the
and
day,
when
to
you're
me, this is
hiring
who I
people,
like working with and who I want to,
totally.
I'll say, use my name, but represent me in the firm.
And when you're hiring people for your team, do you have a certain quota that they need to sell, or it just comes down to them as
No,
people?
no, I don't care about that. I have
Yeah,
people. I don't want to say, yeah, I have people on my team who have had tough years and great years, and there's no
yeah,
quota. I'm very chill with everyone, and I work
yeah.
with
That's
them, and they're
good.
like, let's go pitch something. Let's go out there. Let me come on a showing with you, or come with me, shadow me.
Totally.
I'm going to
Yeah,
be actually doing a lot of shadowing this year for some people who are getting back in the business. Because I do consider
that's
myself to
awesome.
have a very young team. I'm the oldest one on my team, except for our admin. But
Yeah, that's awesome.
it's become a young person's business, and it
It
doesn't have to.
is.
Yeah.
It's amazing because I feel like, and I actually attribute it in large part to reality TV, but there's so many young
Yeah. Oh,
people going out of
absolutely.
college now
Oh,
becoming
I'd always
agents.
say this because it was never a career you aspired to go into. It was a fallback profession. Oh, I can't make
No.
you become a real estate broker. It
Yeah.
was empty nesters. It was soccer moms. But the TV
Yeah.
show really helped
Yes.
show that real estate brokers are smart, sophisticated, hardworking people
Hmm.
that have to be realtor, banker, therapist,
Yeah.
decorator, architect, all these things at once to get these people to make the largest investment in their lives. And it was put down for so long. And yeah, there are times I'm like, people ask me, what do I do? I'm like, I'm a residential real estate broker. And, sometimes their eyes roll, and it's hard.
Yeah.
It's like being a used car salesman sometimes. People sometimes cringe at the sight of us because they know we're salesmen. And yes, I do get to work with a lot of my friends who buy and sell homes, and it does get a little stressful. And I
But I
sometimes
think
do
it.
take it personally if they don't use me.
Yeah.
But you got to move on.
And I think also, it's one of those career paths where the barrier to entry is not that high, but
Right.
a difference between a really good agent and someone who's not a good agent is, it's all what you make out of it.
Right.
And like you said, this is generally people's largest investment
Right.
for
Purchase.
most people, and
Yeah,
so
it's
you don't
usually their
want to just
largest
automate that
purchase.
out.
You're right.
Yeah, largest purchase. You need to have a great agent. That makes a lot of sense. Well, Michael, thank you so much for joining.
No, anytime. It's great to see you. I hope I get to
Likewise.
come west, and I hope you get to come east if we're allowed to. And
I know.
it'd be great to catch up in person.
Yes, hopefully soon, and welcome in San Francisco anytime.
Thank you. Same here.
Okay, thanks,
Good
Michael.
to see you, Justin. Take
Take care.
care.
Stay safe.
You too.